Just watching you. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna sleep good tonight. Just vicariously through you.
Oh yeah, I did.
And the little girl.
Oh yeah, she was dope. I liked her a lot. I did a little bit too much, like yeah.
I'm like, wow, somebody's gonna sleep really good tonight.
No, I don't usually sleep really good. It doesn't matter if I work out or not. I don't sleep good. I'll sleep better.
She's the mom.
Whatever it is, like I love it. I've only been for like 10 minutes, maybe it's but yeah, like
It's amazing how alike though Eric and him look. It's amazing how alike him and Eric look. Like, I'll show you a picture before we leave that I got of him last night, but I mean, there's no disputing who the dad is, that's for sure. I mean, they look identical.
last year when Eric was there,
yeah, it's crazy.
Alright, one more time for my Joe fans, where you guys at? That's better. So a quick intro about Joe. I've known him for a freaking long time. One of the common things we have is that we're very disappointed with the Phoenix Suns free agency. Do you guys know anything about the Phoenix Suns? I'm sorry, that's just disappointing. Other than that, this guy's a really nice guy. The crazy thing is, I went to high school with him, and then randomly on Instagram, I just saw him doing stand-up, and I was like, you know what, like, I talked to him a few times, like, he can't be that funny. And then I saw like a 1-minute video, and I was like crying, and it takes a lot for me to laugh and everything like that. So without further ado, make some noise for Joe Underwood. Oh, Brock, what's going on? How are we? Wow, that bad. Wow. Alright. I'm super excited to be here, you guys. But more importantly, I'm excited for you guys because not only do you get to see some amazing, talented music performers tonight, but you get to see a guy in a wheelchair do stand-up. So a little bit about me. Well, before I start, let me just clear up a couple things, actually. First of all, I'm completely aware of the fact that I look like I probably obtained my disability at a frat party, so we don't need to talk about that right now. I'm also completely aware of the fact that I probably look like the poster boy for a Don't Skip Leg Day PSA. And I am, so... But yeah, so a little bit about me. I actually go to school in Florida right now. I live in Florida, but I don't live in like the palm trees and beach part of Florida. I live in the panhandle of Florida, which is basically just South Georgia's like adopted little brother that gets abused all the time. And I'm not necessarily sure if everybody in the Deep South is mentally retarded, but I've had some very interesting interactions with people while I was there. So I'm just going to talk about a few of those tonight. First of all, when I first moved to Florida about a year ago, I met this single mom at my apartment complex, and we happened to be like having a relationship for a while. And the important thing to know is that every time I went to their place, I was always in my wheelchair. So like right at like 2 weeks after me and her stopped having relations, I woke up and realized that I had a date that day actually. So I was going out to my car and I was putting my wheelchair in my car, and fun fact about me, I can walk a little bit, so I was walking the best I could to the front of my car, and her son, this little kid, was out there, and he sees me walk to the front of my car, and this is the first time he's ever seen me walk. As I'm getting in my car, as I'm getting in my car, he looks at me dead in the eyes, and I swear to God, he goes, "Hey, I didn't know that you could walk because you're a vegetable." And I was like, dang, like I didn't know how to like react at first because I'd never been called a vegetable before, let alone by like an 8-year-old kid. But I pulled it off well. I was just like, yeah, fortunately, I'm able to walk well enough to like get to the front of my car and walk around my apartment and stuff. But the next thing he asked me, I was like super not prepared for it. The next thing he asked me was, so how come every time you come over, you and mommy always like go into her room? And I was like, dang, how do I answer this to the son of a single mom without like ruining his life? But I think I pulled it off well. I think I pulled that off well too. What I came up with was, well, sometimes when mommy's in a really loving mood, right, and daddy's not around to help her with it, she has to resort to using vegetables. Yeah, thank you. He seemed cool with that answer, so I went on the date that I was supposed to go on. And I'm gonna give you guys a little prelude to how the date got set up. So this date, I met this girl on Bumble. And if you guys are not familiar with Bumble, Bumble is a dating app where when you match, the girl has to message first. So this girl messaged me when we matched, and her first message to me said A7. And I was like, what? And she was like, oh, sorry, I thought this was a vending machine because you're looking like a snack.
Oh, God.
And I was like, girl, did you not happen to see these wheels? I'm a freaking food truck. But we were setting up this date, and we were agreeing to go to a coffee shop. And eventually she gets to asking me, she's like, so when we get to the coffee shop, how will I know that, like, I see you? And I was like, I'll be the one in the wheelchair. And she was like, okay, but like, what if there are many people in wheelchairs there? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure the wheelchair convention's gonna be hosted at a different coffee shop this year. We should be good. But we went on the date to the coffee shop, right? I got there a couple minutes before her. And she comes up to me when she gets there and she introduces herself. She's like, hey, my name's Sam. I'm like, hey, I'm Joe. It's cool that your name is Sam because that's my brother's name, so it's gonna be easy to remember. And she was like, oh, but I'm actually not your brother. And I was like, oh, no way. But on a real note though, like how disabled would I have to be to set up a date with a girl on Bumble and then expect my brother, who lives halfway or all the way across the US, to just show up. But one good thing did come out of that date. Actually, I now have a food truck. It's called Just Vegetables. You guys should check it out. So after the date, I had to go to the store
And so I was pulling up to the store, I parked, whatever, I was going into the store, and the store had like those automatic sliding glass doors, like the ones you get close enough to them, they open by themselves, you go through them, they close, whatever, we know what they are. I was going up to those doors and this dude was coming out of the store, and what he did when I got close enough to the doors is he held those doors open for me. And one thing about like growing up as a paraplegic is that when something that profoundly stupid happens to you, you know it's not going to be the only stupid thing that happens during your trip to the store or wherever you're at. Sure enough, like 10 minutes into my shopping, I noticed this girl kind of looking at me like she's interested in me. But I don't think much of it, like I just want to get through my shopping, whatever. But like 10 minutes after that, I get this tap on my shoulder and it's that girl. And she comes up to me and she's like, hey, I hope this doesn't come off like weird or like offensive or anything, but I just had to come up and let you know that for a guy in a wheelchair, you're actually really attractive.
You are?
Oh, thank you. I know. And I was like, I was like, so you don't normally like guys in wheelchairs? Because literally every girl I've ever been with has found it super convenient that I'm at this level. So, obviously, you would take that, most people would take that sort of sarcasm as your cue to like go away, right? Like most people would, but she didn't. She took it as her cue to like keep trying to get to know me by the way of like relating to me, I guess. So the next thing that she said to me was, so I'm actually from Vermont originally, and I have this friend back home where I'm from. Her name's Sarah. She's actually in a wheelchair too. I wonder if you know her. And I was like, you know what? I actually don't think I know any Sarahs in wheelchairs from Vermont. But you know what? I did study abroad in Spain about a year ago, and I made this friend while I was there. His name's Jose. He's actually able to walk. I wonder if you know him. And she was like, you know what? I've actually never been to Spain. I was like, no way. But obviously she wasn't done right, so the next thing that she said to me was, so I actually broke my legs, and I had to be in a wheelchair for a couple weeks, so I definitely feel your struggle. And I was like, yeah, one time I got an F on a test, so I definitely know how it feels to be an idiot. I'm glad we can relate to each other's struggles here. I feel like it'll really help this friendship progress. But as I'm rolling, I got her number, obviously, right? I got her number, and then as I'm rolling away from this interaction, one of my friends from school comes up to me, and he just totally jokingly, he's like, hey, what's up, you disabled piece of crap? Because that's what able-bodied friends say to their disabled friends. And this girl that I was just talking to got so mad, like for me. She got so mad. She got in between me and my friend, and she was like, hey, for your information, he's not disabled, he's just differently abled. And I was like, no, hold up. It's not that I'm differently able to do jumping jacks, it's that I can't freaking do jumping jacks. And that's okay. Like, if you guys learn one thing from my set tonight, it's that we don't need to sugarcoat anything that doesn't need to be sugarcoated. Like, I have a disability, and that's fine. Yeah, too real. My bad. But yeah, so I for the most part, I enjoy like growing up with a disability and stuff. Like overall, I've enjoyed it. It's led to pretty great stories like the ones I just told you. But there are some things about like growing up with a disability that like were kind of annoying. For example, I hate when people come up to me and talk to me like I'm a child just because I'm in a wheelchair. Like I'll have people come up to me and literally like kneel down because being at face level with me is really important all the time. Because I can't hear when people are way up here, apparently. And they'll literally kneel down, be like, hey buddy, how's it going? Like, I'll be like, good. And they'll be like, oh my god, that's so good. I'm so glad you're doing so good. Like, it makes my day better knowing that you are doing so good. Like, I'm literally waiting for the day that I'm at a restaurant with my family, and we go up to the hostess, and the hostess is like, okay, how many people are we going to be seating tonight? And my mom's like, 4. And then the hostess sees me, and she comes up to me, and she's like, oh, who's this little guy? This is Joe. Oh, is little Joey gonna need a disability menu tonight? It's got plenty of vegetable options. You guys, that's 3 vegetable jokes in one 15-minute set. That is 3 vegetable bits. Vegetable bits. I feel like vegetable bits is what those people should call me. Just like come up to me, hey, what's up, little vegetable bits? How you doing? Oh, that's good. I'm so glad you're doing so good.
Hey, you're rolling pretty good.
Thanks. I'll do this. So, yeah. But I'm gonna leave you guys on this. Another thing I guess that I really don't like is when people call me an inspiration for doing the simplest things. Like for example, I was a swimmer growing up and I swam with like able-bodied people. I swam against able-bodied people. So obviously I lost most of the time because their legs worked, right? And I remember specifically like I was in this one race and we were like midway through the race and this dude, obviously not from my team because he didn't know me, he yells from like out of the pool, into the pool at me. He yells, "Son, you have to kick. You have to use your legs." And I was like, oh shoot, that's what I was forgetting. I could have been going faster this whole time. But then obviously I got out and after the race, I got out, got into my wheelchair, and he felt bad, obviously, right, because he didn't know I was in a wheelchair. So he comes up to me, and to make it better, he literally comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know that you're such an inspiration. Like I see you out here still doing your thing." And I was like, "Cool, you gonna like get in the pool and swim now?" Like, didn't think so. I'm not an inspiration. I literally had somebody at the store literally the other day come up to me while I was putting my groceries in my car, and come up to me and be like, "Dude, you are such an inspiration. Like it's so good to see you out here still doing this, still doing your thing." And I was like, "Thanks. If you want to hear something really crazy, I actually cooked this food for myself too." It's pretty nuts. But no, I'll tell you what would actually be really inspirational. What would actually be really inspirational is if imagine you were at your favorite sports bar, for those of you that are able to go to sports bars, and you're watching the Arizona Cardinals play the San Francisco 49ers or something, and then all of a sudden star running back David Johnson goes down with an ACL injury that puts him out for the season, and then the camera pans to the commentators and it's just like, "Well, Jim, it looks like David Johnson is going to be out for the season, and honestly, I don't know what the Arizona Cardinals are going to do now because they don't have much depth at running back." And then the camera pans to the bench and it's me sitting in my wheelchair on the bench, and then I stand up out of my wheelchair and I do my paraplegic penguin waddle onto the field, and then the camera pans back to the commentators and it's just like, "Well, Jim, it looks like they're going to go with Joe Underwood, who's actually coming fresh off of the disabled list after a spinal cord injury in the preseason of his life." And then I grab the ball and I run for 600 yards a game and 4 touchdowns, and I become the NFL MVP. That would be inspirational, you guys. Thank you.
Actually, I wouldn't put it past him.
Now make some noise for Joe.